Hey everyone, Luke here, and I apologise for this chapter review being out a bit late. I was just super tired yesterday, so I figured hey, wait till today when I'm more relaxed, more fresh, and also I was feeling a little bit under the weather, but I still am. So if you hear any sniffling in the review, I apologise for that. It's just something that I'm recovering from, but I'm here to talk about the chapter, so without further ado, let's get on with it. Alright, so this will be chapter 153 titled Analyze. Now, obviously, that's a reference to Shion's ability, analyzation. I believe it's analyzation. Let's just go quickly over it. Shion, Yozakura. Okay, so we're getting to it. So yeah, it's one of their ability. It's one of their ability. No, Nanano's. Oh come on. Sorry about this, guys. Just taking a few minutes. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Analyzation. So yeah, it was a reference to Shion's ability because they're basically analysing okay, what's the best counter to Futtaba's ability, and let's just quickly go over what Nanano's blooming is. It's one of these. It's in here. Uh, Adaptation, isn't it? I think it's adaptation. Adaptation. So assimilation and analyzation and adaptation. So yeah, those are the two bloomings that we have today, going up against Futtaba's magnets blooming. So yeah, like we said in the last chapter, it's kind of interesting how we're getting fights with the ones who are more on the sidelines than anything else. But I've gone off way too much in this chapter. We'll just get right into it. So we have Futtaba just staring down Nanano, and obviously Shion is off somewhere else, keeping her distance at bay because she knows how threatening Futtaba can be. And she's like, I'm Futtaba's just time to teach you two a lesson. And Nanano's going on by saying none of us have ever been able to fully read Futtaba. We're going in at this disadvantage Shion, which is true. Like Futtaba is it's kind of like on the same level of Koricho in the sense that she's kind of unpredictable, not really anything you can really read about her, except for the fact that she doesn't like scary things. She gets scared too easily. So maybe you want to put in some lightning to get under her skin there. I don't know, but Shion's like, oh, this is a crappy game for sure, but not an impossible one. It's not a game, Shion. You're in a battle to save your sibling who's going to beat you to a pulp if you're not careful. But I digress. We have Shion doing her best not to be able to mimic. That was the word. That was the word I was trying to find. I lost my train of thought there. But mimic Mr. Burns here by doing the excellent gesture there as she goes, the infinite loop of data collected and inspection all through history. The steps to conquest has always been the same. As we get like a little flashback of Futtaba going up against Koricho when they were younger, and their mother going, okay, Futtaba, that's enough, calm down. Which begs the question, is Futtaba stronger than Koricho? That's a question that I don't think any of us would go on about. I would say physically she could be stronger than Koricho, but more intelligently, like Koricho might be stronger than her. But that's beside. Actually, leave some comments who you think would win in just a straight up balls out fight, Koricho or Futtaba, because we don't really get Koricho in this fight. It's more focused on Nano and Shion, which makes sense. I feel like Koricho's gonna be the one going up against Momo, where we might find out finally what his blooming actually is. But Shion's nailed down the play style, and the next step is using the ability of her blooming to analyze the situation equation, get the data, and be like, okay, this is what we're going to use, Nanano, and this is how you're going to be able to use your abilities. As Nanano gets quite a funny comeback here. Try not to burn out all your brain cells, yeah, because analysing Futtaba and someone who's completely unbelievable, that can make your brain explode. And he mentions to Creature like, oh, maybe you should go on ahead, like Dad's waiting for us, so maybe you should go on and take him on. And Creature is just it's just saying like, oh yeah, when you get serious now, no, I can't predict what is about to happen. We just see like guys of just like these visages just morphing around now as his blooming is activating on his body. But that's besides. Who would win in a fight? Who would win in like a serious fight between Creature and Nano? I assume Creature, but then again, Nano has the poison ability, and we're going to get into his ability in a second because it definitely reminds me of someone. So anyway, we have the amorphous blobs of like poison just erupted into just like this geyser of gas poison that's shooting out at Futtaba, and she gets the idea, oh yeah, this is probably poisonous gas, and she tries to use her abilities to nullify it. And Naro goes on and says, Futtaba, your blooming is magnebeaten. Like, I cannot pronounce that word. Like, if someone could get the pronunciation of this word, that would be greatly appreciated. But I'm just going to call it the magnetizer ability. Well, it basically, like I said, it's the negate attack of Mission Yozakura. Anyone's played Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just like you go to attack your opponent, you activate negate attack, which basically nullifies the attack. It's basically the same ability, here, and there's no way to beat that yet. But this is where we actually get into Nano's abilities, more so, just a refresher, his abilities are basically, it will adapt again and again until I can overcome you, and I've already become one with this realm. I can generate endless clouds of poison gas which can endlessly neutralize. Let's see whose blooming gets out first. And Futtaba's like, ah, nice, I like this. That's one manly challenge. So basically, ah, nice, no, you're basically giving me a challenge to overcome here. Very nice, as your sister here, as we just see like Nanano's poisons just basically making the whole arena around them just come this like geyser wave sea of poison. Now, in terms of Nanano's abilities, it's very similar to Asuki Nakalifa's ability, the Sterility, the Death Dealing in Bleach, where basically he had poison as well, and it basically worked in a similar way. Like, anyone who touched it like just gets immediately dropped, but at the same time his poison as well, if people are like, oh, we could just change it, we could just change our environment around us, we could just change the reactor around us to nullify your poison. Now Asuki was like, no, because my ability as the Death Dealing can actually keep reinvigorating until it basically comes to a point where poison can affect you. It's basically similar here. So I guess Nanano is kind of like a combination between Mayuri and Asking from Bleach, because they both have poison abilities. But I would say his works more akin to Askin's because of the fact that it's always changing, always constantly evolving and adapting. It's like, okay, my poisons can adapt, and eventually it's going to turn into basically an ability that can work against you, which is why I feel like if it got into a serious fight, I feel like Creature would actually struggle against this ability, because in the same way, like, Futtaba is fairly confident that Futtaba was going fairly confident of just like, oh, you think these two can take me on, a gold ranked spy, where it's like Futtaba is poison, and while you have kinetic energy that can negate it, it's still poison. It's still going to figure out a way to get around these abilities that are eventually going to affect you, which is like a scary ability. I feel like Nanano has the scariest ability, because even if he says it later on in the chapter, like, even if one sip of this poison, you would drop dead. Like, holy shit, how OP is this ability? And the fact that it has it on this big hulking giant that can turn into this like little boy, but has mutation abilities. So yeah, the ability is going to constantly keep evolving, adapting, and it's going to eventually find like, oh, okay, we found a weak spot in Futtaba's arsenal here, as we see him just emit the geysers of poison, but of course Futtaba, so it's kind of like a back and forth game of Pong. It's like, okay, whose ability is gonna get more weaker as we go along, as we have him going, witness spider nerve poison, one breath would stop even Creature dead in his tracks, which is a scary ability to consider, the fact that he's picking up Creature and the fact that even that could stop him dead in his tracks. That is terrifying to think, and holy crap, if Momo got his hands on this ability, I think we will be in incredible trouble here. Speaking of Momo, we finally get to his point in the chapter as Nanano and Futtaba continue to fight each other. We have Momo with Ree's heart still in his clutches, and he's like, our children are fighting desperately, earnestly for their family. Isn't this enough? Let's stop. I want to stop, Ree. But we see him just, again, clenching his hand, and blood is just geysering out of Momo. Like, he is still one of the scariest villains in Shonen Jump at the moment. But even more scary, the fact that it seems like he's talking to Ree as if she's actually alive, as if the heart itself is actually speaking. It's actually speaking to him. Now, there are several theories that we had going on here. I mean, Party Jam said the theory of, like, maybe Ree is the true villain. I mean, I've had that theory before, like, Ree might actually become the true villain, and this might actually be more in kind of what Momo's true plan is like, he wants to gather all the siblings and basically sap their DNA and drive it into heart to basically resurrect Ree into a human body, but it has, like, elements of all the Yozakuras, like this kind of, like, Frankenstein of all the Yozakura siblings to bring their mother back to life, which, if that's the case, that is a scary, terrifying thought, and would perfectly go in line of Momo being like, now we're all together as one big happy family in one body. Like, just imagine that image of just Koricho, Nanano, Shinzo, Shion, Futtaba, Mutsumi, all of them just hybrid hodgepodge as their mother in their mother's body. That would be scary. But also as well, what could be scary is that if that actually happens, Momo might actually have the chance to actually get a hold of all their blooming abilities, which would make him like the most OP villain since any regular Shonen Jump villain. But that's just my theory of what would actually go on. I also have another theory that maybe Momo has a split personality. Like, he's kind of like a Norman Bates type character, in the sense that Norman Bates always had, like, split personality. So, like, he would dress up as his dead mother, which is kind of like the same thing here, except it's dead drive, and he would, like, speak as if his mother was still alive, in the same way that Momo's speaking here as if his wife is still alive through the heart. But that just remains to be seen. Or maybe it's actually Tsubumi communicating to the heart and actually assimilating the fact that she might actually take on the personality of Ree. Like, anything is possible with this family. You just don't know. But at the same time, it's quite fascinating to see Momo in just like the split personality type deal, which will be interesting to see what happens in future chapters. But that's all we get from Momo in this chapter. Quite interesting take there of the fact that it's like, maybe we're getting clues to what is actually going on with Momo, but at the same time, very, very mysterious. So anyway, coming back to the fight, we see like the blobs of like bulb things just shooting out the poison at Futtaba. She's just like, oh, I'm just going to use my little circle to neutralise them. Yeah, carry on, it's still going to come. And we see that Nanano is getting tired, because you see, like, you see the of breaths. Futtaba is going, the gas is crystallizing more slowly. Don't push yourself down. So yeah, he's clearly running out of energy. Yeah, and Momo doesn't. No, damn it, I keep saying Momo. Futtaba doesn't seem like she's running out of energy at all, which is kind of fascinating. The fact that Futtaba is this resilient to Nanano's posing even after he said like, oh, one sip and it will drop Koricho dead in his tracks. So even after Futtaba gives him the warning of like, okay, you need to calm down, Nanano, and don't overexert yourself, because I feel like if he keeps overexerting himself, he might lose a lot of energy and therefore not be able to go back into his monster Goliath form. But now I was like, haha, good point. But unfortunately, my cells don't know how to quit. As we see, besides Futaba's feet, we see these amorphous balls of jelly, gelatin, whatever you want to call it, just rising up, and eventually it turns Nanano into like just this great big blob of gelatinous cube liquid thing that just engulfs Futaba, and she's just like, okay, what is this ability? Like, you see just the look of confusion on Futaba's face, like this was something she didn't anticipate happening, but at the same time it's kind of like, okay, yeah, this is, I can totally buy that this would be something Nanano do, but at the same time, what is this? He goes on to say, I did tell you that I've already become one with this room, so yeah, kind of like, really using his environment to his advantage, and that's a scary thought as well. Like, if you get control over the environment, then you have complete control over the battle and over the outcome. Like, it doesn't matter what abilities you have, the person that has complete control over the environment is going to completely dominate in a fight, because you don't know where all the traps are, where all the trickery is going to be. And Futtaba wasn't prepared for like this amorphous blob of green jelly that becomes her younger brother that is able to engulf her and trap her. He goes on and says, the stronger you are, the stronger I can become, as even though Nanano has a trapped Futtaba, it's just like, oh, you really think this trickery is going to work on me, Nanano? Well, too bad for you. And she starts to use her blooming ability, and quite an interesting effect here. Like, she's able to break out of it because she still uses, like, her negate attack still works, and it's still not going to be enough to even this amorphous blob of gelatin is still not going to be enough to discourage Futtaba, because she's way stronger than Nanano, both physically and mentally, and at the same time she's had more mastery over her blooming. She's been in probably more battles than Nanano, so she's been able to get more akin to like any sort of trickery that comes her way, even stuff that she's not prepared to fight, like poison or something, like poison, like something you just can't fight in a traditional sense and just fight off. It's going to affect everything around you. But yeah, she's able to break out of it and able to subdue Nanano in quite an interesting effect. It seems like the paneling, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but if you notice from the tops there, and then you get down there, it's kind of like it's got like this watery after effect, like this giant water effect, and also as well, like the sheer shockwave of Futtaba's attack just basically seems to affect the paneling in some way, like it guys are like an after shock. I mean, so quite nice touch there. Very interesting, very fascinating as well. And anyway, we're nearing the end of the chapter, so yeah, not really much going on here. It's just more focusing on the fight, and it's kind of hard to talk forever about fights. But we can manage. We can get a few lines out here. So like, it's probably going to be like about 20 minutes this review. So yeah. Anyway. She goes on to say, and she congratulates her brother, which you've got to give credit for, because it's not every day your siblings congratulate you on things. And she goes, not bad, Nano, really versatile. Yeah, he has one of the more versatile abilities. It's kind of like I said, it's like asking Natalie Farr's ability. Very versatile, very much a case of like, oh, I can affect everything around me with my poisons and become one of the room, and I can develop these techniques that basically like, okay, you're using a technique on me, I just have to find something to neutralize that through my abilities. But at the same time, he's going up against Futtaba, who's basically has like the antithesis to his ability of just like, oh, I'm just going to negate that. Oh, I'm just going to find a way to get over your negation. No, I'm going to negate it again. So it's kind of like a back and forth here. So it was kind of an evenly matched fight, and it was only because of I assume Futtaba's much more experience that was able to break through and get a much more strong-willed than Nanano's, because because all of this like just wears out Nanano. Like basically, he's drained of energy at this point. But at the same time, he did put up a great fight against Futtaba. Didn't hold back. He went at it 100%. So gotta give him credit on that front. Futtaba goes, yeah, you may have been really versatile, but change your shape as much as you want. As long as you have shape, you can't escape me. But no, still, even though he's gone down, he's still not giving up here. Like, he's got, oh, you think you were over? Well, I have my one last trump card here. You remember my sister? You remember the one other person that you were gonna have a go at for not being much of a fighter? Well, she's gonna be my trump card in this. And sure enough, Shion gives the excellent fingers from Mr. Burns. Just like, oh, are you sure about that? Analyst complete. Good job, Nanano. Okay, Futtaba. This time it's checkmate, and that's when the chapter ends. Where we see, of course, we have to see a naked Shion, but also as well, we have a naked Nanano who's got Futtaba's hair coming out of it. Okay, we're gonna move on. So yeah, like I said, not a lot to go on off this chapter. It's more like a battle-focused chapter, which are the easiest to talk about, but at the same time the most difficult to make really long content out of. Although, if I had someone like, say, Vex from Control Chaos, or if I was still doing it with Party Jams, we could probably talk about this chapter for a good 45 minutes, just going over every little detail. But I feel like I got the main theories out, like what Momo is actually all about in this chapter. Like, I feel like that would be a scary reality if that's what Momo's plan is. He's like, okay, I'm gonna get all the siblings together, gonna drain them of all their DNA and energy so that I can create this amorphous blonde wife, like a Frankenstein thing. Just go, it's alive, basically Dr. Frankenstein, but bring his wife back in, like a Frankenstein esque creature that has every aspect of every sibling, so that they're all one together as one big family, and maybe even put himself into that shoes, because Momo is not a traditionally born person. He was like created by Tsubumi, who married Ri and birthed the siblings, so maybe he's gonna move them back together and then maybe get them all back into Tsubumi or something like that. Just throwing out ideas out here to see what sticks. But he might have actually been talking to Tsubumi, who has taken on the personality and experiences of Ri herself. So this might actually be Tsubumi he was talking to, or it might be Ri. We just don't know. And like I said, the fight between Futtaba and Nanano was pretty intense. Just kept going back and forth, and you had no idea who was gonna come out on top. And they just kept playing like, oh, I've got a trump card, oh, I've got a trump card, oh, I've got a trump card, which made it even more exciting. But got no idea where we're going from here next. Maybe we're actually going to do something similar to what happened with Kengo and Shinzo, although I really don't want that to happen. I want it to be something completely different and some other way to get Futtaba back. And like what we found out in the last chapter, it might not be as easy as that, because Momo is always around, always creeping around. So he might actually be able at this point to. Yeah, okay, they might, like I said, they might get Futtaba and Shinzo back, but he might be able to, like, okay, I've got Nanano, Kengo, and Shion as a result of it. So, yeah, I've got the more versatile abilities, so you guys will have your work cut out taking them on if that's the case, if Momo's actually able to get those three in exchange for getting Futtaba and Shinzo back. But anyway, guys, what did you think of the chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys, and yes, I got a haircut.